What's going on, you guys? This is Coach Ike with Authority Sports, man, and I just want to welcome you guys for another edition of just talking to those who have done it before us. I got to figure out what I'm going to call this part, but man, we have a great one today, a great guest. I'm very excited. Before we get into that, I just want to share you guys, if you are not in a DB membership, okay? The DB membership, it is a mentorship program. We talk about everything DBs, okay? We're talking about drills, we talking about film breakdown, chalk talks, where we get on a chalkboard, break down stuff. We have drills, whether you are in person, you get to train virtually by yourself, or you can train in person. We have two different parts of the DB membership. Once DB membership is just all virtual, and then we also have the DB membership where it's in person and virtual. So you have a hybrid. So if you guys are not in that, please, you guys are missing out, man, missing out. And we're going to keep adding stuff to it. We have the DB membership. Also have various of DB packages virtual. So if you guys are not in the area, in a different location overseas, people contact me all the time. We definitely have virtual programs for beginners, intermediate, and advanced. We also have just ball drills, and we also have a press series where working different techniques. So you never cannot have enough in the toolbox, and you can always use them at different times for different receivers and different situations. So once again, I will put all those things in a link so you guys are able to get access to the DB membership and our DB virtual programs. As well as we also have an ebook where breaking down the recruiting process. It's called Winning in the Recruiting Process. Winning for you. So understanding how to win, understanding how to gain traction as a recruit coming out, and make sure that you're picking the right school for you. Um, for my guests who will be coming on, man, I've been knowing this dude since I was young, man. We both from the same area. Both grew up in Pasadena. This guy, man, um, I played against him, a competitor. Um, very hard hitter, play safety, played the DB position. I also had the opportunity of coaching with him. Um, he is now the head coach at his alma mater where he went to high school, which is a blessing. His first year there, trying to change the culture and get his school back to where it was. Um, I would like to introduce Lance Mitchell. Bro, I thank
Definitely.
you again. I'm talking to Lance Mitchell, Coach Mitchell. All right. Like I said, I had the pleasure of playing against him, also coaching with him. And my first question to you, bro, is we both from Pasadena. What was your upbringing like in Pasadena growing up?
Man, my upbringing was I feel like very special in the sense that I had my father. He was very present in my life. And growing up, I had a lot of friends that didn't have, a father in the home. So watching them and how they interacted with my father and then being able to interact with him on a daily, um, it kind of it kind of yeah, it made me realize how special I was in that moment. But on the flip side of that, in that, I'm kind of just now, not just now, but I've come to understand that I've kind of dealt with some survivor's guilt in the
Mhm.
fact that, I had a father that was present, that, was awesome, man, just literally like was there every aspect of my life, you know, um, man of God, you know, just real ideal when I think about what a man is supposed to be.
Mhm.
Um, and I had a great example. And early on in my early like manhood, in my early 20s, after I was done playing football, and wasn't exactly where I wanted to be in I guess in life.
Hmm.
Uh, I kind of felt like, you know, how did I have all the resources or have this resource, this big resource, and not make it?
Yeah, yeah,
And the survivor's guilt came from like, seeing other kids struggle without their pops, and almost feeling sorry, you know, for them and for myself. Like, why did I get this opportunity?
yeah.
You know, and that was a real thing for me, a real thing as far as just feeling why did I get it and they didn't get it. You know what I mean? Um, and then it's just as far as my upbringing, man. My all through elementary and junior high, I lived with my mom, a single mother that you know worked. She was a hairdresser, worked from sun up to sundown. Would get off of work at like 10. We would be at home. Um, some of the days, obviously I had, practices. I played basketball, football, ran track at times, played baseball early on. And, so I always had something going. Um, but during the weekdays, I would stay at my mom's house, and seeing her work hard, I think is like really, really where I found my hunger in seeing a single woman, work like that. She would come home 9, 10 o'clock from having clients all day long, standing on her feet all day long, try to get us something to eat. She would leave, pick us up from school, drop us off. My dad a lot of times would come pick me up for practice. We would go to practice. I would come home, and just living like that in two separate households, and seeing my mom work so hard, it really created a work ethic in me, I believe. Um, and then as I grew older and became a young man and needed to I guess be closer to my pops.
Hmm.
uh, I moved with him in like the 8th grade or something like that. And you know and not that he wasn't there, he was always there. He was there my whole life. He was always there, but actually living in the home with him was around 7th, 8th grade. And that was a big transition for me just because two different households, right? My dad was strict in some areas and very lenient in other areas, whereas my mom was very strict in some areas. You had to, cleaning was at my mom's was like crazy.
Yeah.
If I didn't have like, and this was a big thing, like if I didn't have certain chores done and things didn't look a certain way, then she was threatening not to let me go to practice. And my dad would obviously step in at those times. And it was just a crazy dynamic, as far as being able to see to see a woman work as hard and create a certain discipline in me and have a certain standard for some things that at the time I had no care of. I didn't care, how the how my room looked, for the most part. I wasn't, washing dishes wasn't, fun for anybody really, but definitely for me, I didn't have, a desire to make sure it was done her way.
Yeah.
Um, but then as far as my pops and just how do I carry myself and how doing certain things, how strict he was on some of those things, it just gave me uh, a real balance, I would say.
Gotcha. That's awesome, man. And you brought up both, both parents, how they played a major role in your life. But I want to focus on your father because you brought him up, and I know your dad, great man. How was that interaction? Because your father was your coach. So how was that outside of other than him being a father to you? How was that relationship with you guys now? Being player coach and then going home to being father son. How was that?
Rough at times, extremely rough at times, man, because you know, I mean, as a young kid, I looked up to my pops like crazy. Like I thought he was Superman, right? He can do anything. He was, he was everything for me, and my, the closest example for anything that looked good. Um, so as a young kid being coached by him, you know, it was easier, I would say. I do remember one in uh, certain moments where he would definitely coach me a lot harder than the rest of the team,
Yeah.
but he also did a really good job of like warning me of that. Like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna coach you harder. Like, I'm going to, be harder on you. And being young at times, I didn't like it, but obviously as you get older you understand and you appreciate that type of stuff. But as I got older and started to be able to tap into other influences and stuff like that, and as you grow into junior high and high school, your dad isn't the coolest dude in the world anymore. You
Hmm.
know, so I think that played a part in how our relationship was when he coached me. Because I was able to see other people do it other ways,
Hmm.
and um, at times you start to feel like you know better. Not
Right.
that you know more, but maybe in a certain specific area or specific thing, you're like, no, this works better for me.
Hmm.
Him being my father, um, he most of the time he knew best. He knew best. Um, and with that, going home every night, it would, it would create a barrier as far as me just tuning him out.
Hmm.
And, and he, granted, I was pretty a respectful kid. I definitely had a reverence and a fear for him. Um, but you know, so it never got really disrespectful. But at times, I definitely just tuned him out.
Yeah.
And stopped listening so much. As far as things around the house and just parenting type, conversation and parenting type, thing. And I think everybody goes through that,
Hmm.
but I think even more so because I was listening to him at practice during the day, and then coming home and having to listen to him about chores and being being a good student. And he was the one giving me all that information, so it was only his voice
Hmm.
a lot of the time. So it was tough at times, for sure.
Man, and it's crazy you say that because I've run into some clients, I've run into dudes I play with as well. Their fathers coaching them up, being hard on them. And as soon as they get away from their dad, whether they go to high school, college, they done with the sport. It's like they done with it completely. And it's
Yeah,
just like, what happened? And it's like, bro, I was just burnt out. Like, man, my dad just put so much on me. And it's crazy that you say that because fathers, we don't understand, and we both have kids. We don't understand how much pressure you put on your kids. And I've had this conversation before, like at a young age, just let them have fun. Like, man, we don't know what's gonna happen, of course. And it's crazy how we have higher expectations for our own kids, rather than somebody else. Like, we know our kids can't run yet correctly, but if our kids start running, he be like, man, pump your arms. You gotta use your arms. Ain't nobody ever taught them, but we just think like they supposed
yeah,
to know it because you come from us. So
yeah,
we be
yeah.
so much harder on our own kids. But man, I'm glad you share that perspective, man. And I want to get into now. You still had your dad as a coach in high school, man. You went to John Muir High School. We actually played against each other. I played against you one time because I didn't play my junior year, but and you was killer. I ain't gonna get into that game. But for you guys who don't know, we playing a turkey tussle out here in the Rose Bowl. That's the greatest game, high school game, and all of the nation. All right. So
Everywhere. Yeah.
exactly. So you played two sports, sometimes three. What was the recruiting process for you in high school? How was that?
Well, it was I think it was new for me and my pops. But granted, I had an adult that had um a mature mindset that kind of was learning the information as I went along.
Mhm.
um so I attended a ton of camps. I went to camps back then. you know that was kind of the exposure that you went and got. Was going to uh different, college camps, different, it was the
Mm-hmm.
Nike type camps,
Yeah.
a B2G, it was just a bunch of camps, man. And I was able to stand out in those camps and get recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I went to Oregon State, and actually I went to a Nike Combine camp at Stanford, and Coach Banker, my defensive coordinator, who says that he was the one that seen me at the Nike camp, and he said that the reason why you caught my eye was because you kept showing up at the front of the line in one-on-ones and going against some of the, some of the better talent as a safety. Whereas some of the corners were, I guess at the time were picking and choosing. And this is his way. We're picking and choosing who they wanted to go against and stuff like that. And I just ended up, showing up a lot and obviously doing, decent in those one-on-one drills. So he actually, put the defensive back coach, who was Coach Niles, Coach Burton, Niles Burton. He put him on to me and had him come visit, and then I think they end up, and this is funny that we talked about the turkey tussle move, but they end up putting on my highlight tape, and on my highlight tape, the first couple plays on there was some big hits from the turkey tussle, and that's all they wanted to see. They seen that I can cover a little bit as a safety, and then they wanted to see if I would tackle. And the first couple plays were some big hits from the turkey tussle, and they said they only watched like three. Said they was, they knew they was gonna offer me, and that was during my junior year. Yeah, that was junior year, I believe, before my senior year, when all that kind of took place. But again, as far as recruiting, I continue to put myself out there and compete at a high level against the best talent. And then I just, I carry myself a certain way whenever I ran into people. I know that I've talked to different coaches that recruited me while I was in high school as an adult, and they just said that, I was just a really respectful kid, right? Just as far as my the way I carried myself, how I answered questions, the way I interacted, and this is from most people that I can't even remember, when we exactly met or even our interaction when that was, but this is what they said. So, I think recruit for me started pretty early. It started in the 10th grade. I played varsity, and I started to go to camps around the 10th grade. And it just kind of progressively got more traction as I continued to play well, obviously, and then put myself in front of guys that were getting exposure, and that were better, guys that at the time. And it kind of took care of itself. I think a lot of times now it's a lot more pressure, because I think like offers and recruitment comes a lot easier nowadays, and not in the sense of guys are less talented, but it comes easier. You get the exposure a lot easier, which waters down actual exposure. So I think that the way things are now, it just makes things a little tougher in a sense, in the sense that even if you're getting exposure, even if you're putting yourself in front of people, it, everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody's, on the circuit, everybody's, trying to do the same type of things. So it's hard to kind of separate yourself nowadays, because it's so much of it going on.
No, for sure. And you hit some on the head, man. And I realized this once I became older. You was going to camps, but the thing is, you was going up first. And I did the exact same thing at my open trial, playing arena football. And the coach, as soon as he came up to me, he's like, I just wanted to talk to you. He's like, you always popping up first. You going, it don't matter who it was, you popping up first. And fellas, young guys, that catches the coach's attention, because they like, shoot, who is this guy? I don't know who he is, but he
Oh
got
no,
all the confidence to hop up first. So
0 stars, all that, man. Just up
exactly.
eating. Mm-hmm.
So you gotta, if you go to these camps, like you said, it is difficult to show out of these camps. If you can, either be first or be last in drills, because you the first person, then the last, they gonna catch those people and anybody else in between, unless you a guy already,
Just
they not
God.
paying attention to it. But
Yeah.
you first or last, try to be those two, and then you'll catch somebody's eye. So you shared a little bit about Oregon State. What made you choose Oregon State? Because I'm sure you had other schools, like you said, recruiting picked up for you. What made you choose Oregon
Yeah.
State over other schools?
Well, initially, I was planning on committing to Arizona, um, just because Antoine Casey. There was a couple different Chris McAllister, a couple guys that I knew. Arizona was a lot more, I guess, popular during the time when I was in high school.
Sure.
So I was getting recruited by a coach named Williams. I believe he was the DBR receivers coach. I can't remember at the time, but I pretty much told him that I was going to Arizona. And as I got, more recruiting, I started to feel like I definitely wanted to stay in the Pac-10 at the time, because I wanted to come home every year, play up and down the West Coast. And then the Pac it was an elite conference at the time. SC was obviously, at the top of the nation, right, during that time. So, and obviously my first choice would have been to go to SC, and I did get a lot of interest out of SC, but they never offered me. But I did get, like I said, a lot of interest. Pete Carroll was super awesome. I have a couple different stories about Pete Carroll and his just the way he was as far as recruiting was concerned, how awesome he was, and just the way he was a people person. But as my recruitment went on, Coach Burton, who was the coach at Oregon State, just stayed in close contact with me. Right, he just he was always checking up on me. He was always calling. Different coaches would call and check up on me, and it really felt like they wanted me, like they liked me. And granted, during this time, in my mind, I'm going to Arizona.
Yeah.
And as things progressed, when it was probably, matter of fact, before I get there, and this wasn't happening as far as Arizona was concerned, right? They said they was going to offer, and I hadn't heard from them. I didn't hear from them at all during my whole senior year. I hadn't heard from them, but again, Oregon State was really consistent in contacting me and staying connected. And then it came to signing time around maybe a week or not even a week, maybe a couple days. Um, I found out that the coach Williams had left and went to North Carolina University, the coach there, and Stoops, who was the coach at the time, reached out and said, pretty much was like, hey, are you still coming, and go sent the letter of intent and all that. And I had a conversation with my pops and pretty much changed, I changed my mind. I changed my mind just because of the interest that Oregon State had for me. And with that, it's a lesson in the fact that you want to go to a school that really wants you, right? I hear this a lot of times. I don't know how true this is. I'm happily married, so it doesn't matter really. But you kind of want to go to the girl that likes you, not the girl that that you like, that's giving you a little bit of attention, but the girl that likes you. Because when you get to college, man, yeah, you playing football, but it's still life. You got life that's going on, right? And things are going to happen. And if you're just a football player, or the coaching staff or the school doesn't really have a bigger investment or bigger interest in you, then it's going to be a whole lot easier for them to kind of push you aside and put the next guy in, right? And it happens. It happens, and I felt that, and I went to Oregon State because they were more interested in me. I think it worked out. I think it worked out for sure.
Definitely, man. Sure, you was able to play a pivotal role in that program. I know you guys built it up. You actually got close to playing in a Rose Bowl game, man. But overall, what was the experience now just being away from home? And I try to share this with kids like that first 2, 3 years. And sometimes for some people, it's the whole college experience, like leaving home to now go to a school where you're not accustomed to, you have no friends. How was the experience for you up there at Oregon State?
Man, the first probably about 4 or 5 months, I was miserable, miserable. Corvallis is a small college town, and when you get to college, if you're playing football, you get there around July. You do, most colleges do like a little bridge program or something like that, but there's nobody on campus really,
Yeah.
right? Be soccer, some, a couple other sports are on campus, but it's not a whole lot of people on campus. So you're up there kind of by yourself, um, away from home. For me, it was a small town. Um, Culture shock. I come from the west side of Pasadena, where it's majority Black and Hispanic. Up there, obviously it's mostly white people, and just the shock of not being at home and not a whole lot to do. Coming from Pasadena, from LA, from California, ton of stuff to do. We can do something every night if we want to. And Corvallis is, you know, it's a college party. That's what you do. What you do. During that time, there aren't a whole lot of parties when you first get to college, and it's not the way it is when you go on your recruiting trip. Right. I went on my recruiting trip at a time when they're in school, so they're taking you to parties. You're meeting people, ton of stuff going on. And then when you get to school, it's nobody on campus. You're by yourself. So it was a shock for me, man, a culture shock for me. And then also on top of that, um, when you go through the recruiting process, it's about getting you to like the school, to convince you that you're the guy and stuff like that. And when you get there, everybody's the guy, right? Everybody has been told the same type of story. And granted, I was able to come in and really, really compete. But unfortunately, I wasn't ready to play. My freshman year, I kind of was on like what you call red shirt alert, where I was able to travel to a couple games, but also just, I was red shirting, so I wasn't playing. And then in my mind, I felt like I was good enough to play. It was some people that were playing that were upperclassmen that I felt like I was better than, which as a young man, I don't understand it. If I'm better than you, why are you, playing? And I'm not. But obviously, I think that worked out best for me because I wouldn't have been a starter, right? I wouldn't have started. So with that being said, I would have really just been, wasting a year. And I don't want to say wasting a year, but I would have been using a year to play special teams only. So with that, I did end up redshirting, which made it a lot harder because I wasn't traveling, I wasn't playing in games. So now you're just up in school practicing all day, practicing all the time. You never get to play in the game. So that's another element to the I guess I have to say homesickness that I had. On top of the fact that once school started, you got work to do. And for me, again, the culture shock of not being around, the not being around Black people and not being around what I'm used to, it just didn't, it just wasn't that fun. It was honestly, it wasn't that fun. So then, again, once I got into, you know, later on in our season, and I started to get the hang of things, and by that time, I was just with the scout team and ended up doing really well on scout team. I was scout team player of the year that year, and was competing against the ones, but I was able to actually make a whole lot of plays, as a scout team player, and I think that's actually what propelled me into being a starter for the years to come because I competed so well. And I know for a lot of guys, it can end up being a lot of a kind of hit to your ego when you're on scout team, and you don't practice as hard, you don't go as hard. But for me, after I kind of, settled in and that position, I realized, okay, this is what it is. From that father figure, telling me like, yeah, you're not coming home. Like you got to stick it out. And at that time, there was no portal. It was no trying to transfer or anything like that. So it was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be here. So might as well ball when I get chances to be on the field. And that's kind of what I did. And it ended up creating kind of the perfect place for me to develop my game and be ready to play when it was my turn.
No, that's real tough. And you set a bar, bro. Because a lot of people, I tell them all the time, first of all, you can't let the environment and what you're going through take you away from the main thing. The whole thing of you going up to that school and people don't like this, they're like, oh, you're a student athlete. They have you come up there to play football. Okay.
That's it.
So when it's taken away from you, you're gonna truly find out what kind of person you are when you register. So people need to understand that. A second thing you said was being on scout team, red shirt during that period. Like everybody in college, for the most part, was that guy wherever school they was at. If you're on scholarship, for the most part. And then you gotta like, man, all right, I'm not gonna play this year. Even though if you feel that you're better, I was fortunate. I went JUCO, so I never red shirted, but I did come across a guy. He plays in the league, and you also play with some guys in the league. We're gonna talk about that. Kevin Byers, he played for the Tennessee Titans. I saw him come in as a freshman. The dude, and we had ballers. There was no reason why he could have played though. But coach was like, look, we're just gonna redshirt. The dude was making plays every day. So I already knew he was gonna be like that because he came in right away like that. But mindset was like, look, I'm coming in to kill it. I don't care. Coach was getting mad at him and everything. He was like, man, I'm not about to not make plays. I'm not about to.
Yeah, that's another thing about that scout team. They kind of they like that you making plays, but sometimes they're like, man, let us get a playoff.
Exactly. He'd be like, shoot, you got, and he'd be like, y'all got to do better. It's your fault. Like, I ain't about to. So, man, you said that, you hit that right on the head, man. And so now, man, you end up start playing, bro. Actually, become a leader. I was reading an article and the coach was talking to players, was talking about you being a leader for the team and whatnot. So now it gets to your senior year. And I believe, y'all had a lot to play for. You had an opportunity, like I said, to go to the Rose Bowl game. And at this time, I don't know if you guys have been there. When was the last time Oregon?
Man, it was a long time. It had been a long time coming. We hadn't been to the Rose Bowl. I can't even tell you the year, but it was a long time. So it was definitely a big deal. Trying to get back there and actually playing against our rivals, Oregon, to try to make it there. So it was a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. So, but that junior year, you got hurt, correct?
Yeah.
So explain that, explain what you had to go through, because we see dudes who they had implications, they know that the bigger pictures get to the NFL. And I'm pretty sure, you like, man, I really want to play for my team. I want to get there. This is my senior year. I need to ball out. But do you regret playing your senior year with the injury you had? And if you had to go back again, would you get the surgery or would you just sit out and just wait that year out and then play the following year?
Man, to be honest, man, this the answer to that question, it changes all the time for me, man. Because on one end, do I think that I would have had a better chance to get to the league if I maybe sat out and got healthy and had a chance to play another year of college as a healthy. Yeah, but that's not promised at all. But then also, what did I, it changes for me. It changes for me. I think the first thing is the way I had an injury that I tore my groin and had hernias, but I tore my groin logical, like it was along my groin, and it wasn't like a cross. It wasn't like a full tear, so it was still intact. which was painful, and it didn't allow me to kind of do, and play the way I wanted to play. But it was actually, it was still intact. I could still do certain things. And with that, to me, it sounded like, when talking to certain people, it sounded like pain management.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when you talking about, how well can you manage the pain, was almost not an attack, but was a question, and how tough I was.
Yeah.
Which, with that being said, it was, it was no question, right? It was no question. I'm playing. I'm tough. I can play through this. I can, I felt like I can help my team. Also, like you said, I was a captain going into my senior year, so I felt a responsibility to show God, to kind of show guys, what it takes to be tough, to fight through, to sacrifice, I guess. And at the time, I didn't really look at it as sacrifice, and I think I just look at it as being a leader, like being the type of leader that's going to do it and not just say it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I chose to play. But with that being said, I wasn't a shoe in to get a extra year also.
Yeah.
Like, I would have to petition to get a medical red shirt and be able to come back, right? So that was another question mark that was like, okay, I can try to sit out this year, and try to get a year back, but what if they deny me? So now I just sat out, and my senior year. Granted, I might be more healthy, and be able to maybe have a better showing at the combine or at pro day and stuff like that. But, I felt like I was good enough at the beginning of the year to put better stuff on film. Granted, I wasn't, as the season went on, it didn't progress. It got worse. So, I didn't end up having the type of senior year that would put me on the map the way, kind of the way my people thought I could be, looking at my sophomore, being a starter, and having a really, really, really good sophomore year. And junior year, I had a decent year also. Was actually like one of the top safeties that probably would come off the board as a senior going into my senior year. But then after my senior year, I dropped drastically, just because I wasn't making the same type of plays. Although I did make some plays, I wasn't, the frequency of it. And then with that, there was other captains and other seniors and other key parts, key positions on the team that weren't filled, right? From injury or from guys entering the draft early, Jaquiz Rogers, who entered the draft early, that we had to fill on the team, which made our team not as good. And in college, that has a lot to do with, I think, your stock also. Type of team, the caliber of team that you're on can help you. We were bad. My senior year, we weren't good. And we just didn't get the type of looks that I felt like I could have gotten if we were a better team. But with all that said, I did get opportunity, right? I did get opportunity to go to camp and have a shot to make a team. But with that being said, I think the injury is actually what burnt me out, right? I always say this: injuries at a certain level are way more mental than physical, right? When I was training, I was on a tight schedule because I was trying to get back for the combine, and I was trying to get back for our pro day. And when you get injured, really the only thing that really, really heals you is time, right? Is rest. Is after your surgery, after whatever you have to do, is resting that and then building it back up. Whereas I had surgery in January. Yeah, I had surgery in January, and had my pro day in the end of February, March almost. So the turnaround was just so fast, and then the pressure that you put on yourself to try to get back right, is it just was it's a lot. It's a lot. So then with that, I finally get back to a place. Then in June we go to rookie camp, and I'm trying to, still trying to get back right. Um, but I'm not feeling as explosive as I did before. I'm not feeling the same way, and it starts to play with your mind, right? It starts to play with your confidence. And granted, I was a pretty confident player, right? I just did. I played with a certain amount of confidence, and when that isn't the same, when you go to a camp, an NFL camp, where everybody feels a certain type of way, um, shoot, playing without confidence is you might as well hang it up. You know what I mean? You might as well hang it up. Granted, I did feel like I did enough to make that team, but a lot of that was based off of just mentally. I was a heady player also, right? So I was able to pick up, you know, the calls and the playbook a lot faster than some of the other guys that were in camp with me, and which gave me a lot more opportunity. Um, but unfortunately, it's a numbers game also once you get to that level. So I remember being hinted at like I was coming back to camp by the coaches, but then once camp ended, um, they called me back and they told me that they weren't going to invite me back. Um, and I heard that it was because of um, know, sometimes it is best how you have a position that gets to stay. You know, money, it has to do with the whole depth, the whole team depth chart as a whole, and necessity. As far as what the team needs. So it's a numbers game, and it didn't work out for me. And then I think also, I know I'm talking a lot, but I think also when I got home and I started to work out more for another tryout that I had coming up, I pulled my hamstring, a simple, hamstring pull, which is not career ending. It's not, a big deal really. It's, a couple weeks, maybe. But I think because of the stress that I went through when I was, rehabbing from my growing, and the surgery that I had, um, mentally I was defeated. And I can honestly say that I feel like I quit on myself a lot earlier than probably I should have. But um, I also always told myself once I had my daughter that I wasn't going to push this career too long, and that affect me being the father to my children and providing, because it can get hard, as far as financially, once your agent stops, you know pretty much taking care of you the way that they did at the beginning. Then you're kind of, you know, it's up to you to kind of feed yourself and, get things done and get to workouts and be ready when somebody calls. And I always told myself, because I've seen other people do it, go through that process and really break them down. I always said that I was going to stop when it was time to stop, you know. And do I think, do I regret it at times? Like I said, this answer changes all the time. Yes, I do. I do sometimes. And other times I look at my life and I'm like, man, thank God. Thank God, God has a plan for me. And if that didn't happen and this wouldn't happen, and I wouldn't be where I am today, which, I'm blessed, man. I can't complain, man. I am truly blessed. So, um, yeah, it's all God's plan, you know?
For sure, man. And when you brought up the injuries, because I actually tore my ACL, my MCL, really never had like no major injuries until my second year playing arena football. Tore my ACL, my MCL, like week 4. Had to miss the rest of the year. Came back in 7 months. Like free
Hmm.
to contact and everything. Trainers were like, man, this is the fastest, we ever seen anybody. And looking back over it, I think I kind of rushed. I could have slowed myself down, but I want to get back. I want to be back to playing. The second game, first play, broke my collarbone. And man, I cried on the sideline once I found out. I wasn't even mad I broke the collarbone. It's like I just came back from the knee injury. So it was just like, man, like I gotta go through this whole process again. And
Man,
thank goodness the process for the collarbone only had to sit out 8 weeks. You know, I got surgery, got a plate, but I was able to come back. But then again, I had to miss out. I'm not the same. I'm already not the same for my knee. And it was just, it's a lot mentally. So I do know where you're coming from when that happens. And players need to understand, like, you need that mental support, people just carrying you, helping you in this process, and you need to find your motivation. Like, man, if sometimes you're not gonna want to get up every day and do that therapy, nor do you want to continue on. But if that's your goal, I heard this before. Your goal is not done. It might be delayed, and for some people, it might be done though. It might be
yeah,
done.
yeah,
But if you really want that, this is a test you have to go through, and this
yeah,
is, the road ahead. But man, I
yeah,
think that was awesome what you shared that, man, because that made me think about my injury. But you talked about the opportunity in the league, man, and you actually play with some guys who are currently in the league at Oregon State. So, this guy, I don't know how much younger he is, Jordan Poyer.
yeah.
He was at Oregon State with you. Explain, or did you ever see him being the type of player he is in the NFL as a Pro Bowl guy? Did you see that then when he was there?
Man, to be honest, Jordan Poyer definitely was special, right? I'll say that at the beginning. He was a special talent. He actually came in and played corner at Oregon State, but he wasn't. It wasn't anything um, super special. I mean, super elite about him, right? He wasn't blazing fast. Um, wasn't super physical. He wasn't, he had nothing that just jumped off the screen at me. Um, and actually, let me say this, it was nothing physically that popped off the charts for me as far as Jordan was concerned when he first got there. And I would say that he played as a freshman,
Mm-hmm.
right? He played as a freshman. But one thing that he did do, and we obviously didn't figure this out. I didn't figure this out until we started playing, is that he just made plays.
Mm-hmm.
He made plays like he was such a just a playmaker,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and he used to sometimes just to be like how, like why is he, how does he have 5 picks right now? How does he have, so many big plays? Like he not super fast, he's not super, physically not, he didn't have the attributes that it just, will make you be like, man, he's the best thing
Yeah. Yeah.
going. But on the field, he made plays. Like he was always around the ball and he made plays. Um, I think what he does have is he had really, really good ball skills. But yeah, man, I think for me, um, his the way he can competed in practice is one thing that might have, if I was thinking of it this way, might have would have gave me the gave me the hint that he was the way he was. You know what I mean? Because he competed really, 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 really hard always. Right? He competed really, really. He wanted to win at everything.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's something that I think translates to his playmaking ability.
Mm-hmm.
But again, yeah, he was younger than me, so I'm looking at it through the lens of like being an older guy that kind of was established already, and then seeing this young guy come in and start to get on the field initially would be like, okay, I mean, we got this young guy in here. I wonder, is he going to be able to, and then once the season started, he's making plays and he's making plays on special teams, and he's, then it's like, oh, okay, we got something.
Yeah.
We got this guy. He's a guy. He's a guy. But just looking at him, you know, there's nothing special, nothing special to look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once when Saturdays came, you know, he was the guy. He was making plays. He was
Man,
making.
I remember, because I'm a year younger than you. I remember when he was coming out, he led like the NCAA in interceptions, and he didn't go
Yeah,
out. I was like, bro. I don't understand, but man, that's crazy. Like you said, you didn't see it at the time, but even then, he had ball skills and he
Yeah.
went to work, man. But man, you shared the opportunities that you had, after playing and leaving Oregon State, which was a blessing. But man, there was an incident what happened. You can tell us more where you were arrested. I want to know what happened and then what did you learn from that incident?
Yeah, man. It was kind of just a crazy situation, man. But I think it all kind of stemmed from me kind of losing my identity.
And this happened after you left Oregon State, right?
Yeah, that happened after I left Oregon State. This happened after I was went to camp and stuff with the Jets, and um, a little while after, I end up, kind of stopped training and stuff like that after I pulled my hamstring, um, working out. Uh, like I said, I started to. Um, I had a daughter. I wasn't really sure about what I wanted to do, as far as a career is concerned. I still was so connected to the sport and so close to the sport. Um, and it never really in my mind before this time, it never really entered my mind that it wasn't going to happen, that I wasn't going to play, football as a career. So when, like I said, when I pulled up, working out, trying to stay ready, getting ready for another invite, and I actually was, actually going to go soon after Atlanta. The Falcons actually were going to bring me in for a workout, but again, I in my mind had already kind of like fixed my mind to think like, okay, this is over, right? I need to start the next part of my life. The only problem is that I didn't know what that was. In fact, I didn't even know who I was outside of football.
Mm.
Um, so with that being said, it was hard to even um, to interact, and the I guess I don't even know what to call it really, the disappointment in myself, I guess, um, and kind of the fact that it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Um, it made it hard for me to answer simple questions, just
Mhm.
to interact with people. The pressure that I put on myself, and the people that just would come up and ask me about what's going on. Are you still are you going to the league, or just those type of questions. It put so much pressure on me, and it was so much. Um, yeah, I guess the only way I can put it is like disappointment is that I kind of got lost in the fact that there's other things out there.
Mhm.
As young boys, a lot of times, especially guys that are really really involved with sports, and take it to a certain level. I have been playing. Excuse me. I have been playing football for um, my whole life since I was like 5 years old.
Mhm.
So everything that I did was associated with sports and with football. Anytime somebody talked about me or talked to me, most of the time was about sports or football.
Mhm.
So with that, you start to build an identity. Um, and once it was over, I was at that time I was lost. So I just had a whole lot of idle time. I had a whole lot of just time just to really not have to do anything. And guys will learn when they get to college. Almost every minute of the day is filled with a slot or with a responsibility, somewhere you're supposed to be, something you're supposed to be doing, right? And when you had downtime, if you're serious about it, you was working on your craft. So it was literally, I went from one week, every hour of my day being, planned out, to not having anything planned and not knowing, you know, how, I was going to make money, how I was going to do anything, how I was going to take care of business, my family, and anything like that. But I wasn't too crazy. So the situation, I dragged it on for a minute, but the situation happened where a friend of mine was going to Vegas and they wanted to rent a car. They were underage, so they gave me $500 to go rent a car. Right? They gave me like, here we got 500. Can you go get us a car? Right? So I go get the rental. Right? We had one of them who was who was also going to Vegas also signed on as a driver, right? So it wasn't my rental essentially, but on paper it was. Mm-hmm. So after that, we would, there would be times where we actually had the rental out for months, right? Probably about 2 months, 3 months, and just really was just, they would call and say, hey, today, tomorrow you're supposed to turn back in the car. And then they would go down and put more money on it so that they can keep the rental. And it was, it really just was a rental. And, one of my friends were just using the car. They would go, in and out of town and stuff like that. And what so happened was one day they ran into some guys that they didn't like. There was a shootout that occurred. Off-duty police officer was actually shot and killed. And my name was on the rental that was involved in the shooting, right? So obviously I was one of the people that, first came up as, a person of interest. So I was picked up, was charged with murder and all that, went to jail. And it was pretty, it was a real benchmark in my life looking back on it, because it really sat me down and made me focus and really tap into who am I, right? Mm-hmm. What am I doing? And what do I need to do to get my life back on track? And unfortunately, a lot of things happened. I wasn't able to really do much to help anything. I didn't, I had not known about the situation, and didn't learn anything about the situation until afterwards. So it was a really, really unfortunate situation. But when I look back on it, it was something that kind of shook me and woke me up to make me realize that, I needed to, first off, create a plan for myself. And then second off, make sure I surrounded myself with people that were like-minded, that were doing things that I was doing. You know what I mean? And granted, I still have a lot of love for
You there? You went off for lost you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now. I think I lost you for a minute. I don't know where I lost you at though.
You were saying you came up with a plan, going for yourself, and then you realized you need to surround yourself with people who's like-minded.
Yeah. So again, like the in a way, I truly believe one of my favorite verses in the Bible is is that everything works out for my good. All things, good and bad, it's gonna work out for my good. It woke me up, right? It happened, and at the time, I went to jail, was sitting down in jail, and was charged with murder. You know, and yeah, at the time it was kind of it was a shock, man. I was definitely scared and didn't understand why certain things were happening. But as I look back, man, it actually was something that I needed, right, to kind of snap me out, because in that situation I wasn't involved, but if I had kept going kind of down the road that I was going on, I most likely and probably would have put myself in a situation to be involved with something that would have got me in trouble. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So um, you know, I kind of looking back, I got to thank God for the good and the bad, right? That kind of shaped who I am today.
Man, I think, man, what you said, bro, it was first when you said after football didn't work out, it was disappointment. And I feel like as athletes, not just football players, identity crisis. Like you said, you've been playing since you were young, and it's just like that's what I'm known for. So now that I'm no longer doing what I'm was known for, who am I? And I
Exactly.
think that's very important to understand that we have multi um, faucets or facets of ourselves, and that this is just part of who a sense of what we do and not who I am. And
Exactly.
the situation, man, you was in, like you said, it was like you had no part of it, but because your name was just on the rental, just that
Yeah.
paper right there. Um, but the thing that I took away from that was like it set you down, and you said you was able to identify, come up with a plan. Like, all right, who am I? Who is Lance the person rather than outside of Lance the football player? What
Exactly.
am I going to do? And you also said that you had to get around like-minded people,
Yeah.
because we know people personally where they are around the wrong people, and they have talent, they have better skill sets, they intelligent, but being in the wrong place, wrong time, wrong situation sometimes, and their life has changed totally. Rather they're no longer here with us, or it's just that situation has just took them way down further than what they expected, man. So I think that was important for you to share, because we need to educate and help our young people going forward and understand, like, look, this success is great to have it. You need to understand certain friendships you can bring with you, but you got to be honest with yourself. Like, you know what? I can't do this. Either you going to rock with me like this, or we just got to disassociate from each other altogether. And there's no love lost. There's no love.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I think because going on to the next thing, like you said, you had to figure out what you want to do. And I came across an article where it was saying in college that you wanted to start coaching football. So I'm guessing during this time you figure out, look, after this whole situation, man, you know what? I want to pour into some young people. And now you are coaching, and you've been coaching for a while, and especially you touching the youth and the high school. There was an incident that happened recently out in Texas where a coach got killed. And I wanted to ask you, because we know we're in this whole um passing league, there is really no rules and regulations to it. Have you ever been around something that's got that wild where, altercation happened or whatnot? And what was that incident like, if there was?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I would, say, send prayers to that family, man, because just watching it's man, it's so like that. I, too many right incidents that happen at passing leagues and youth football, or just in those type of environments where um, a little um, under organized or unorganized situations that they kind of invite um, those kind of situations to occur. Um, and really, I honestly feel that it comes from a lack of organization, a
Mhm.
lack of um, yeah, some policing, I guess, for a lack of a better word, like rules and regulations, and also um, qualifications.
Mhm. Mhm.
Who are we um, putting in charge of our children,
Yeah.
right, of our youth, of programs, right? That now potentially have the ability to make a lot of money. Who are we putting in charge of these type of programs? Um, what qualifications do they have? Because, you know, essentially working with young people is about their development, right? It's about making them better, you know, better at whatever sport that is they're playing, making them better human beings, and in this case, making them better football players. And that those type of incidents have nothing to do with any of that. You
Mhm.
know, um, fighting at football games, at 7-on-7s, it adds nothing to the kid. It's really, um, it teaches them nothing, as far as like a lesson. Like even when you think about what you can learn from that, man, it is so disproportionate in the negative.
Yeah.
As far as like, oh yeah, you can learn. Okay, we could have took care of it. We could have did this in a different way. Um, but essentially, what did you lose from it?
Mhm.
Right? When I talk to young athletes and really high school athletes that are on the circuit and playing a ton of 7-on-7 football, which I'm not a huge fan of, but what can you lose from getting in a fight, um, at a 7-on-7 tournament?
Mhm.
And granted, the obvious thing is, oh, what if, college, or what if somebody sees you? But it's such a wider net of what actually who's actually watching, right? Granted, are there a ton of college coaches out there at 7-on-7 tournaments? I don't think so, right? I don't think there's a ton of college coaches, but there are a lot of people.
Mhm.
There are a lot of people, and I can tell you that there are a lot of coaches, right? Um, I was told that when I as I went through the recruiting process for myself, that um, Coach Bonds, who was rest in peace, he passed away last year or two. Um, he actually was the guy who sent over a ton of guys that ended up offering me because he knew of me, right, and the impression that he had on me and the type of football player that I was. Um, Made him, want to see me do well. And you just never know who has that type of influence
Yeah.
and who can help you. And if you get caught in those type of situations and people are watching you react and do things like that instead of responding in the correct way,
Mhm.
uh, it just paints a bad picture, man. It really does. Not to mention people get hurt,
Yeah.
right? And you know, I've gotten to the point in my life that you know, fighting for me is really, and I've got it from my pops. It's really life or death.
Mhm.
If I get to a point where I feel like I want to fight somebody, it's really life or death. Because first of all, I don't know what this person has, what this person is capable of. Um, Second off, what's at stake. What can I lose in this age with everything being on camera and on
Mhm.
film? Like, what can I lose from this? Yeah, granted, it's just a fight, but you just never know. Who's going to see this, and then I got somebody to go home to. I
Mhm.
got people that's counting on me, right? So, getting in a fight over a bad call, getting in a fight, over football in general,
Yeah.
it just isn't worth me losing any time. I don't care if I only go to jail, for a day or two or whatever. You know, it does not worth me losing any time or that experience or my kids having the experience that it's not worth it. Not even a little bit, so it's really unfortunate, man. And it really doesn't help you as a football player.
Mhm. Mhm.
A lot of the stuff that goes on in those situations, it does not help you as a football player. Um, you know, Even as it's a little, and I've been in fights on the football field as far as little tussles and stuff like that. And really, who really, when you're playing football with pads and shoulder, who really gets hurt during a fight? You got
Yeah.
helmet, you got shoulder pads on you. What are you really proving?
Mhm.
Right. Granted, in 7-on-7, you don't have all that stuff on, so it is more of a fight. But what are you proving? That you can fight?
Mhm.
I mean, if that's the case, then go box.
Exactly.
Go box. With football, maybe it's probably not what you need to be doing anyway. Um, and then that kind of comes to like the celebration stuff. And I love celebration as far as like when you make a play. But I think we've gotten really, really out of hand with some of the stuff that kids are doing, as far as celebrating after making a play. Man, I think it should never involve putting your hands touching
Mm.
um, another player. And to be honest, uh, I played really aggressive. And I talked a lot of trash too.
Mhm.
When I but I never even thought about touching somebody or throwing the ball at a guy. Because I know that if a guy was to do that, I would want to fight. It wouldn't be because of the play he made.
Yeah.
Would be because of the disrespect. And now that I'm older, I can deal with disrespect in a different way. But as a kid, it just doesn't. I wasn't that mature, and I don't expect young men to be that mature to be able to take disrespect in a certain fashion like that and understand what the ramifications are of retaliating from somebody doing something like that to you.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
with that being said, I don't think it's up to them to police it. I think it's up to the organization, the you know the event. Whoever's running that event. It's up to the coaches mainly. It's up to the parents. To raise the kids and to not allow certain things to take place. Um, but yeah, man, I think it's nonsense, and it's unfortunate that people are losing their lives to those type of situations, man. But I think um, it needs to be policed a lot better, and I think we need to start with like you know qualifications on who are the people that's holding these events and who are the people that are in charge of our kids and coaching our kids.
That's real, man. And we talked about it coaching together, how the head coaches or the coaches in general set the tone for the kids. So, like you said, man, if I mean coaches, we're not parents, but essentially we're the leaders out there. So if we setting the tone for the kids are gonna see how we react, and of course they're just gonna follow suit. So as coaches, parents, and it's our job to lead from the front, man. And we pray for those families, everybody who was in the situation. Is we pray and hope that the trauma is only so much, man, and we just got to do better going forward. But man, I want to talk about now the current state where we in, man. You're currently, man, the head coach of your alma mater, man, and there at John Muir. You currently there now. What is that like? What is that feeling, man? And then my second question is, now being the coach, and you guys, when you was there, you guys were winning the Pacific League, um, and whatnot. What is it going to take for you guys to get back there, get back on top? Now, mind you, I am a dog, so
Yeah,
I'm rooting
yeah,
for you because you're my boy, but at the same time,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Nah, definitely, man. And I really I'm excited, man. To be honest, I'm excited um, for us over here at Beer, but in general, just excited for Pasadena in general as far as football is concerned, man. Um, First off, it feels good to be back home, man. I spent some great years over at Arcadia. I coached at LA Valley for a short period of time, but spent some great years over at um, at Arcadia, man, and learned a lot, man. I've come to understand and I've known this for a while that I had to kind of go away from here and learn and see different ways of doing things and see how things are done in order to be successful here. Um, and I definitely appreciate, the people over at Arcadia, the administration, and Forsey and principals, and everybody that was over there while I was there. And now Coach Twan and you guys that are coaching over there now, man, it's all love, and I love to see what's going on over there. Um, but to be back home, man, obviously is special. Uh, I think this is really what you know what I pictured when I back then in college, and when I kind of made the decision to coach. This is what I imagined, as being here, being somewhere like here, um, and giving back, and building something.
Yeah.
I think that becoming a head coach, um, more than winning football games, um, more than you know, more than just football in general, is more for me about building something that is going to impact, um, the school, the community, the people in the program, but building it from ground up. Like you said, we were successful when I was here, when I played here, as far as Pacific League, and we did have runs in the playoffs and stuff like that. I wasn't able to win a CIF title, but got close, and it was a time where we were successful for a long period of time here at Mir. But I think that we've kind of rested our loins on our talent for way too long around here, and it falls short. It falls short every time, and I think that's what we've been accustomed to, is resting on our talent, and not really paying attention to the details, and not really focusing on building something from the ground up. Um, and that's why we haven't been able to really, really, really reach the mountaintop now. In the past, you know, we've been to finals, semifinals, and been to championships and stuff like that. But actually compete at a high level, with high school having so many divisions as far as CIF championships, competing at a high level is something that matters to me.
Yeah.
And being consistent in that, right, competing at that high level year in and year out, and it's going to take a lot of attention to detail, um, but not just the football, but the attention to detail as far as the program and the systems that have to be built to make a good program,
Yeah.
right? What type of academic procedures and system do you have in place? What type of strength and conditioning procedures do you have in place for a public school um, that is lacking a lot of resources? What type of funding procedures do you have in place? Um, Relationships, media, it's just a ton of things, and a ton of different um, arenas that you have to be able to work in and out of. And like I said, create systems that operate,
Mhm.
right. When you're at a school like this, you don't have the resources
Yeah.
to man those systems. So that means the system has to almost run on its own,
Mhm.
right? And it has to be really, 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 really efficient.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that's the challenge for me, and that's what's really, really exciting about it, right? Is building systems, and with all that, man, uh, classrooms on, lights is on a timer. But with that being said, that's like I said, that's what's exciting about it for me, um, and it's a challenge, man, because while I try to build and create systems, and find good people um, to be a part, um, I'm also dealing with young people currently that are living their life, that are in high school. This is their only chance that they get to do it, right? So we're creating systems and building a program that's also creating a standard,
Yeah.
right? That a lot of young people, um, a lot of the kids right here right now aren't accustomed to, is a certain standard. Um, and with that, with creating standard, a lot of times you get pushback.
Mhm.
So finding a way to keep the standard what the standard is, um, hold people accountable, but also have grace, because I can't cut off my nose to spite my face. I can't, I came back to help the kids. That means I can't kick every kid out that's being, not doing it right. You
Yeah.
understand? Um, it's a really really hard balance of like I said, creating a standard, but then also having grace and being able to forgive kids and uh, giving them a way to come back
Yeah.
is what I was that. I have to have that standard, but I have to, and I have to hold them to it. And when they fall short of it, I have to give them a way. It has to be a process of them coming back and being able to fight, get back, to good standing.
Mhm.
Um, and that's really what we're doing right now, right? Where we're in that process. And when we first started talking before we actually got into it, I said it's trust in the process is what I'm doing right now. And it's cliche and it's super cliche, but it's so relevant for me right now. It's just trusting the process. It's times where I have to sit out guys that are going to help me win football games, but if they don't, hold up to the standard, then I have to, stick to my guns, and that possibly means losing. Right?
Mhm.
We've done that already, but you know, like I said, I got to trust the process to know that if I do this way right now, um, at some point it's going to turn over,
Yeah.
right? And in the end, once it turns over, and once we start creating student athletes that you know that want to uphold the standard, um, and then we're able to develop them at football wise,
Mhm.
then that's when you have a good program. When you
Yeah.
have good character that understand the standard, want to meet the standard, but then also have some ability and some talent and some things you can work with. That's when your program is good, right?
Mhm.
And can high level and win.
Man, I know you, man, and we talk about it all the time. Just like you said, the standard is a standard, but at the same time, we know our standard is the word. So that's the whole thing that you're trying to bring to those kids and that foundation, man. And I'm happy for you that you got this opportunity. And I believe the community, the school, they need you. So I'm rooting for you, just not against them dogs.
Yeah,
But much success, man, and the more and more you guys um as a whole, as us brothers, as we win, Pasadena wins. That's what it's all about. And now we gotta focus on getting these guys and keeping them in
keep
Pasadena, man. Keeping them. They don't understand all the talent in Pasadena. They go out and they go to all these other schools, private schools, St. John Bosco, Alamany. This, if we can keep them here and know that they can go to PHS Mirror, whatever it is, man, it's a win for the city.
it is. It
It's
is, man.
a win for the city.
Man, we have this conversation. We've had the conversation, me and you, and we had the conversation all the time here. Man, it's crazy the amount of talent that's out there that comes and has origins from right here in Pasadena, and I've come to realize that it's really hard right now to ask kids to turn down um, certain perks that they get from going elsewhere. But I think what I want to do is really tap into their passion and the origin of really really owning something,
Yeah.
right? Really really owning something. I know for us when we played, it meant so much to put on, right, for the city,
Mm-hmm.
right? And granted, yeah, you can go somewhere else and put on at St. John Bosco, and underneath your name you can say Pasadena and all that, but what does it mean to really really to build within your community, to build within your school, and create something that's better,
Yeah.
you know then you leave it better than what you found it, and that's what I feel like we got to get back to in order to win the guys back, because right now, and granted, the goal is to have all those resources, to have all those perks, and I know we will get there, but it's not going to happen right overnight. And some guys, in order for it to work, some guys are going to have to choose us. And I feel like the only way they can choose us is if the city of Pasadena means something to you, if your community means something to you, um, then then we have a shot for you to choose us, because that's the guys that I want anyway.
Exactly.
In order to be good at this game, man, you got to be playing for something more.
Mm-hmm.
Not for yourself, not just for yourself. You can't. It's too easy to give up if you're the only one that's affected, right? You got to be playing for something more, man. And for me, man, I wear it on my shoulders. The city of Pasadena made me, right? So I am the city of Pasadena. So with that being said, man, I want to develop the young people around here to feel the same way, right? Feel the same way, and once I get a couple of them to choose to feel that way and to carry that like that, and to choose John Muir High School as a place they wanna play football, then things will really start to change in a faster fashion, right? It'll happen a whole lot faster, and I think it will. Honestly, I think it will.
Man, so we talk about it just because, man, we meet as men, and we talk about winning, winning football, winning the community. We are both husbands, both fathers, both have kids. What do you think? And now that you're a head coach, you have more responsibility. What challenges do you face being a coach, and how do you manage those challenges?
Honestly, man, it's about um it's about prioritizing, obviously, but uh, it's really the grace that my wife gives me, right, to be able to do what I do. Um, and a lot of times I joke with her saying that she knows what she signed up for, right? And it's some truth to it. It definitely is some truth to it. She's always, we have a real fairy tale type of love story, in the sense that we were high school sweethearts, and I, met her in the ninth grade. Well, met her a little bit before the ninth grade, but been together for a long time, off and on. Obviously, I'm not perfect. I, went off to college and we separated at times, but we found our way back together. Um, so she definitely knows who I am better than anybody else. But it's the grace that she gives me to make mistakes right now, right? And because this is my first year being a head coach, I've been coaching for a long time. And I have spent late nights, doing things, trying to coach football, and went traveling, trying to get things done, and created a program that kept me away from the family at times, trying to work and build something. But right now, like you said, it's a lot more on my plate, and I'm gonna mess up. At times I mess up. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I'm not. My I spend too much time here and away from home, and it's the grace that she gives me to be able to do what I do. But then for me, it's trying not to make the same mistake the same way, and communicating. Honestly, it's just communication, letting her know what's going on. She's awesome, man. My wife is truly a blessing. I got lucky. I'm lucky to have her, and she's really the reason why I'm able to do what I do. Uh, and like I said, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for her.
Yeah, man, you were saying it's a blessing for your wife to allow you to do what you're doing, man. And for those who are even considering coaching, man, you guys need to consider the whole commitment, family, not even being a head coach, just a regular coach, that time it
Yeah,
takes, whether it's from high school, Pop Warner, college, NFL, whatever it is, you guys understand there's a sacrifice. And if you don't have the counterpart to help you navigate, it's going to be tough. So you got to make sure you get the okay by them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's gonna be
Yeah.
something real, man. But man, I know you gotta go, man. Basically, I give the floor to you. If is there any questions you want to ask me, or just something that you want to share with people in general, rather it's something you want to get off your heart, or you just want to share something positive with people, man, and the floor is yours.
Man, I just honestly, man, I just want to, kind of give you your flowers while you're still here, man. You're just doing an awesome job, man. Probably one of the best I've ever seen do it, as far as DBs are concerned, as far as you know, coaching, being a young coach, um, we the same age, but I definitely uh, look up to you in a lot of areas, man. As far as like what the commitment that you have and the way you take care of your business and run your business, man. So, man, I yeah, definitely just want to tell you, man, keep doing your thing, big dog. Man, anytime you need me, I'm definitely here. Um, and man, anybody out there that really wants to perfect the craft, and get really detailed as far as technique is concerned, man. But also be mentored by a good dude, man, and a man of God, a man of faith. It ain't too many. It ain't too many people that's on your level when it comes to that type of stuff, man. And I'm just like I said, you definitely a guy that I look at to want to be around as far as like minded and that holds a standard to everything that he does and brings it every day. So man, I just appreciate you, dog. Appreciate you, big dog, and yeah, get with me.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. And likewise, if you need me, bro, regardless, it don't matter. At the end of the day, we all Pasadena, and I'm
Without
for everybody. So whatever it is, man, we'll call away and we gonna get together soon, man.
sure, for sure, no doubt, no doubt.
So appreciate you, man. You enjoy the rest of your day, man. I'll talk to you, bro.
All right, I get with you.
All right.